Many years ago, in the village of Ujoma, there lived a beautiful and hard-working girl named Ugochi. She lived with her father, Anozie, and her stepmother, Ijeoma. Unfortunately, Ugochi's mother was Ijeoma's best friend, and one day, while Ugochi was still a little girl, she went to the farm and never returned. Some years later, after the disappearance of Anozie's wife, he got married to Ijeoma. However, Ijeoma was a very cruel and wicked woman, and people despised her in the village of Ujoma, as they knew she was very wicked and jealous. Ijeoma hated Ugochi so much that she made her do all the harsh chores and never allow her to rest. She would often call her the daughter of a witch, which made Ugochi very sad and heartbroken. Despite all the mistreatments, Ugochi remained a hard-working and kind-hearted girl who never lost hope that things would get better. One day, Ugochi's father, Anozie, went on a business trip with his best friend, Ukafo. Ijeoma was very happy about this, as she saw it as a perfect opportunity to get rid of Ugochi. She told Ugochi to follow her to the neighboring village, Amobi, where she sold her to a wealthy woman named Oluchi. Ugochi was heartbroken and felt betrayed by her stepmother's actions. Oluchi was a wealthy woman who needed a housemaid, and Ijeoma saw this as an opportunity to make some money. Ugochi was forced to work for Oluchi, who treated her poorly and made her do all the harsh chores. Ugochi was not allowed to have any friends, and she was always sad and lonely. However, Ugochi remained hopeful that one day she would be able to escape from Oluchi's grasp and return to her village. She prayed every day for her father to come and rescue her from a miserable life. Days went by, and Ugochi's father, Anozie, returned from his business trips. He was welcomed back by his wife, Ijeoma, who faked crocodile tears and told him that Ugochi went to the stream but never returned. She lied that she searched everywhere for her but could not find her. Anozie was heartbroken and felt like his life was no longer complete. Anozie told Ijeoma that he was going to announce to the villagers that whoever found Ugochi would take half of his wealth, as he was known to be one of the richest farmers in Ujoma. However, Ijeoma had other plans. She went to the chief priest and bribed him to lie against Ugochi, claiming that she was a witch and responsible for her mother's disappearance. Ijeoma told the chief priest that the gods had used Ugochi for sacrifice as a reward for her evil deeds. The chief priest, who was known to be a very powerful man, believed Ijeoma's lies and spread the rumor throughout the village. The villagers, who were already desperate to find Ugochi, now turned against her, believing that she was responsible for her own disappearance. Ugochi was treated like a slave by Oluchi, who made her do a lot of work and never allowed her to eat. Ugochi would often have to eat leftover food from Oluchi's two daughters, Adaeze and Amaka, who were equally cruel to her. One day, Amaka sent Ugochi to the stream to wash her clothes for the prince's coronation. As Ugochi was washing the clothes in the stream, she saw a group of men approaching her. Among them was the prince, who had also come to the river to take his bath. However, when he saw Ugochi washing clothes in the river, he was immediately drawn to her. He had never seen such a beautiful maiden before. The prince approached Ugochi and asked her what she was doing there. Ugochi, who was still scared, told him her story. The prince felt sorry for her and asked her to come to his coronation in 2 days' time. Ugochi was hesitant at first, but the prince promised to protect her and take care of her. Ugochi finally agreed to go, and the prince was very happy. As the prince and Ugochi were having a conversation, Uloma, Amaka's friend, overheard their conversation. She quickly ran back and told Amaka that their slave was about to take what was hers, which was the prince. Amaka became very angry upon hearing this and swore to kill Ugochi as soon as she returned. She told her mother what Ugochi had done. Upon hearing her daughter, Oluchi was filled with rage and decided to take matters into her hand. She immediately sent message to Ijeoma, Ugochi's stepmother, who was known for her wickedness and her ability to handle such situations. Upon receiving the message from Oluchi, Ijeoma became very sad. She had always wanted Ugochi's life to be run, and if the prince chooses Ugochi at the coronation, she knew that her own future would be doomed. Ijeoma decided to come up with a perfect plan to eliminate Ugochi. She went to the chief priest and asked him to kill Ugochi. The chief priest warned Ijeoma that Ugochi had a very strong spirit, and he was afraid that the charm might not work. However, out of wickedness and desperation, Ijeoma ignored the warnings and told the chief priest to go ahead with the plan. The chief priest then prepared his charm and gave it to Ijeoma. He instructed her to call Ugochi's name 3 times and blow the substance into the air, which would make Ugochi sleep and never wake up. Upon hearing this, Ijeoma was very happy and thanked the chief priest before leaving. The day of the coronation, Ijeoma was filled with happiness as she was about to carry out her plans. She went to the backyard of the house where she knew her husband would not be able to hear her, and began to make the incantation as instructed by the chief priest. She called Ugochi's name 3 times and was about to blow the substance when suddenly she went blind. Ijeoma screamed in pain, saying that she could not see. Hanozie, Ijeoma's husband, heard her cries and rushed to her aid. When he arrived, he was shocked to see his wife blind. On the night before the coronation, Ugochi went down on her knees and prayed to God for protection. She knew that her life was in danger and she needed God's protection to survive. Ugochi also prayed that God should grant her heart's desire, which was to see her father again. After her prayer, Ugochi felt a sense of peace and calmness. She knew that God had heard her prayer and that everything would be alright. Ugochi went to bed that night with a smile on her face, knowing that she had done all she could to prepare for the coronation. The coronation ceremony continues, and people were filled with joy as Prince Ikenna was crowned the king of Amobi Kingdom. However, the Onu had an announcement that would change the course of the day. He declared that the prince would choose his wife from the ladies present at the coronation. The ladies were filled with excitement, hoping that they would be the chosen one. As the prince stood up, he immediately pointed at Ugochi, shocking everyone present. Amaka, Adaeze, and Udoma ran out with anger and shame, unable to believe that Ugochi, the maid they had treated so poorly, had been chosen. Ugochi was both shocked and happy at the same time, unable to believe that she had been chosen by the prince. As soon as Ugochi spoke, the king Ikenna asked her to make her request. Ugochi asked if she could go and see her father in her village, and the king agreed to take her there. That day, when they arrived at Ugochi's house, they were shocked to find her stepmother blind. The villagers gathered around her, and she confessed to all the wicked things she had done, including being responsible for the loss of Ugochi's mother, her best friend. She begged Ugochi and her father Hanozie for forgiveness. Everyone was surprised to hear her confession, as they never knew she could go that far. Ugochi, being a kind-hearted girl, forgave her stepmother, and her father also forgave her. However, the stepmother was banished from Ujoma, and she lived with blindness for the rest of her life. Ugochi later got married to Prince Ikena and they lived happily ever after. The moral lesson of this story is that being kind and forgiving can make a big difference even in difficult situations. Ugochi, despite being mistreated by her stepmother, never gave up hope and stayed kind and helpful to others. In the end, Ugochi's kindness and forgiveness helped her find happiness and justice. She forgave her stepmother when she showed regret for her actions, and it had a positive impact. The story also shows that being mean and dishonest can have consequences, as seen when the stepmother became blind and was kicked out of the village. This story reminds us to treat others with kindness and understanding, even when it is hard. It teaches us that forgiving and being compassionate can bring positive change, not only for others but also for ourselves. So remember, even in tough times, try to be kind and helpful to others, because it can make a big difference in our lives. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please support me by subscribing to my channel, like this video, comment and share. Bye. See you in my next story.